Barry, my friend, welcome to the podcast. It's so good to have you here.
Thanks for having me. Excited to chat with you.
Well, it's so cool because we've seen each other a few times down in Arizona, but we just got last time we were together, we get chatting a little bit, and since then I've done a lot of research, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Me
Uh,
as well. So
yeah,
yeah.
I just think you got some really cool things that our listeners need to hear about. So let's start this way. Why don't you tell everybody? Why don't you describe to them exactly what you do?
Well, if I had to narrow it down to a couple of words, I would say I assist people in utilizing music to magnify mission. And that would be the fastest way to say it, although there's lots of different lanes that applies to.
So if you say using music to magnify mission, is that for companies or do you also do that for people personally?
It's done personally and as well as definitely rippling out into business and entrepreneurs as well. Like we all really have the ability to navigate our mood, our energy, our sleep with music. And that's really where the awareness comes in. That most of us have had these random experiences where music has affected us in a powerful way, but really to create transformation, and really this goes across the board in anything, you really need to create a program for something to implement it effectively and for it to move in from those incidental moments to something that carries a lot more intention, where you're steering the music where you want to go. And I call that becoming the DJ of your life.
Interesting. So explain to the listeners, how would you go about doing that? So they have a better understanding of how you would do that.
Well, music affects us not just emotionally and mentally and even spiritually, but it also affects us on a physical basis. So music interacts with our physical body, and this gives us the ability to target specific states. So just like the athletes get into a zone and they have a certain mindset, we can utilize music to do that. The easiest way to explain it for me is we have an internal metronome, which is our heart. It can synchronize to the external tempo within music, and we call this entrainment or synchronization. And so our heart beats at a relaxed state at about 60 beats per minute. So listening to music at that tempo can slow us down and allow us to move through anxiety or wind down for sleep. We can pump it up when we want to work out, right? And that affects our breathing as well, our respiratory rate. And music literally dictates these states that we can move into. And so starting a music program for me is similar to creating a program for nourishment. So I look at the three most important times of the day. Morning, just like breakfast, you're breaking the fast of what you're eating. In the morning, you're breaking the fast of hearing, because you're dreaming, you're not hearing, you're not really aware of sounds around you. Lunch, to revitalize and restore and regenerate your energy, because a lot of times we deplete our energy in challenging situations, or just a lot of energy that we have. And then an evening, to wind down. Most of us are type A personalities, going till we go to sleep, and there's ways to literally bridge your brain waves so it's more conducive to getting the rest that we need. And I design the programs around those three times a day, based on individuals, but also corporation, using music as a bridge. Where are we now? Where do we want to go? And what music is going to get us there? And that's really the big question that's answered.
Very cool. So if I went on your website, which I did, and I'm just saying this for the listeners, what would they have access to on there that would help them?
Yeah, I mean, there are programs there for everything from, as I said, from motivational, in a morning program for creating gratitude, which is a great way to start your day, music to revitalize your energy, and a lot of emphasis on relaxation, moving through anxiety, as well as being able to sleep. And music is been widely studied, Richard. So this is not just something that I love to talk about, which I do, but I wrote a book on this called The Secret Language of the Heart that literally has over 50 studies that are documented of how music can be used as medicine. I call them acousticeuticals. So we have pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals. Acousticeuticals are utilizing music in some of similar ways that we use medicine, except it's low cost and it's non-invasive and there's no side effects. So I'm not telling people to give up their medicine or anything that their doctor prescribed, but there's some great adjunct ways to use music, and all of those are really on my website, as well as a lot of educational materials that dive deeper into these processes of how to do it.
Beautiful. So yeah, I just want to mention the listeners. I think it's you can just go to Barry Goldstein and you can find the website very quickly. And there's a lot of really cool tools there. So let's talk about the use of these tools, because and then I'm going to go back and we'll sort of journey from how did you get here? You know what I mean?
Sure, sure.
I always love, because you've worked with some really cool people. And so we'll get into that. So let's say that somebody was to utilize your programs. And I think we all understand to some degree the power of music. It's like people, they get in their cars. We're talking here to mostly real estate sales professionals, some of the top people in the industry. And,
that's right. Yep.
They're heading to a listing presentation, which to me, I always say that's like the gold medal race at the Olympics. You've all the marketing you've done, and to get to that point where you're going to sit down with somebody and you're going to share with them what it is that you do, and you're hoping they're going to choose you to help them with the sale of their home. And so that's like the gold medal race in the Olympics to me. Like, that's all the work you do is to sort of get there. And I know many people that will put on some, let's say, more fast-paced music, obviously higher beats per minute to get them in a mood, right? And
sure.
I don't think any of us could deny the power that has on us. I use it myself, right? If I'm working out, like you said, I'll put on certain music. So how would somebody take advantage? Because to me, it's like and correct me if I'm wrong, Barry, but it seems like you're mood altering to some degree, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
But not just from a mental point, we're doing it physically as well.
Okay.
So I could explain that we have different brainwave states that we're literally in. So when you're firing and wiring and your attention is focused during your day, you're in beta brainwave states.
Right.
Right. When you're looking to move into the zone, or you're looking to create something that's more suggestible, for yourself. And this is similar to what athletes do to get into the zone in terms of visualizing and bringing in images to whatever it is going into. So if you're going to a big deal and you're about to close it, yeah, it's great to get your mindset there and your energy up. But in addition, just like Jordan literally forecasted every move he made, he would see it in his head before it happened. Right? What's the mood you're going to be in, or you need to be in, with this specific client, and what is going to be most conducive to them as well, and starting to see yourself in that situation already. It's already closed. It's already done. What are the emotions of that feel like to you before you're going into it for that specific meeting? And sometimes it's not just speeding up the brain, but it's also moving into a more suggestible brain state, like alpha or theta, which is where our imagination comes in, where we move into flow state. So sometimes we have to slow those brain waves down a little bit as well. So you might want to get into that state first, into that slower brainwave state, which is alpha and theta. And that would be listening to some slower music to bridge. And then maybe right before you go in, after you are visualizing that meeting, then you get up, because you want your energy to be higher,
right,
in terms of going into it. So just like medicine, it's individual. Every person's different. Your songs that make you more up are going to be different than somebody else's. So it's really important that we start to take inventory of our music, and we start to subcategorize them into playlists that we know can move us to different moods, like a playlist for gratitude, a playlist for inspiration and motivation, and they can be your favorite songs. Like my gratitude playlist is Sly and the Family Stone, Thank You for Letting Me Be Myself, Louis Armstrong, What a Wonderful World, and some relaxing music that brings me into my heart as well. But what I didn't tell you, when our heart's in training to those beats per minute, it literally has a physical effect on our body. So when our heart is slowing down, our physical body is adapting, and we're able to digest food better. We are able to restore energy more efficiently. We're able to sleep better at night. So it's not just mental, emotional. Our body is, music's literally engaging with your heart to change your body. You begin to, when you're in listen to a happy song, you begin to produce dopamine, which is our reward neurotransmitter. When you slow down and you're calming yourself, you're producing less cortisol, which is your stress hormones. So all of these are beneficial and can be targeted. And this is really what it comes to when using music beyond art and entertainment. You're really using it to get the edge, and this is something that is very practical for executives, real estate, people in your category where you're looking to really fine tune. You guys got it, but you're really looking to fine tune and get the edge. And music, believe it or not, is one of the fastest ways to do that. In 5 minutes, you can shift your mood, you can tap into the state you want to be in, and you can literally also clear your energy. If you have a challenge in your day and you don't want to take that last client into the next meeting, right? Music's a great way to just wipe that slate clean and to start fresh all over again.
That's so interesting. Okay, so let's do this then. So I get up in the morning and I have a routine, which I call R&R, review and reflection time. And
Perfect.
I generally will spend about 30 minutes to 60 minutes there every morning, first thing. And what that space for me does is it allows me, first of all, I journal. I talk about what happened yesterday.
Great.
I usually weigh myself, not every day, but a lot of days, just, so I got some record as to, how I'm doing with that. If I tend to eat a lot for 3 days, I'm not so good at weighing myself, but then I'll get back on track a week later. I'm just kidding.
Right.
But and then I talk about, everything went on yesterday. And then I always journal 3 things I'm grateful for. And then what I try to do for me is when I write the first one down, I close my eyes and I think about it. And I try to internalize that feeling, emotionalize that feeling, because I want to feel grateful. I just don't want to write down I'm grateful for something. I want to feel grateful, right?
Absolutely.
And then, I sort of quickly review my goals, and I have something called a living legacy. And it's sort of, if somebody was to read, my eulogy, I want to live my life in a way that this is what I would hope they would say. You know what I mean? That's sort of
Beautiful
thing that I created. And then I start to move into my days. Now I'm starting to think about planning for the day, looking at my schedule and all. So 30 minutes, sometimes 60 minutes I spend there, depending on the day. So I do that with no music right now. So the reason I'm telling you this is I'm looking for some suggestions from you, so that maybe our listeners, can help them a little bit. What would you suggest for me in that period of time? Should I not be listening to music, or should I be listening to music? And if so, what should I be listening to?
Yeah, I mean, I think you should definitely be listening to music because, as you said, you don't want to just be thinking about gratitude, right? You want to feel it,
Right.
and so that's what the studies show as well. There's a business called Heart Math Institute, which actually studies the heart, and what they show is that when we are in these emotions of kindness, gratitude, compassion, that our heart is actually producing these smooth and orderly rhythms, which benefit our physical body. Now, how do we get there? And that's the whole key. How do we get to those states? Especially maybe you wake up one morning and you don't feel like in a place of gratitude. Yeah. And that's where really music comes in, because music, and I'm sure you've experienced this, catches us with our defenses down. We don't have the ability to put up walls and protect ourselves from feeling a certain way, because when music comes in, we just open up those heart gates, right? And that's where these emotions come from. So I suggest starting your day, and it really take inventory of your own music. I'll make some suggestions as well with some music that I suggest from my catalog. Like I have a piece of music called the Heart Codes that is composed at 60 beats per minute. It's very beautiful. It's very heart opening, but it's also spacious. So it allows you to journal without getting too preoccupied in
Right.
your head. And sometimes if music carries too much melody or too many lyrics, it can move us into our analytical mind. So if you're looking to journal, I would suggest listening to instrumental music, and just something to really create an ambiance for you. And that's something that's going to, slow you down and put you into those emotions that you're looking to connect to. So gratitude, kindness, compassion. But as well, you know, it really it really requires going a little deeper into your own library. Like, what songs do you listen to?
Mhm.
I say to people, if you're going to create your own program, start with one song. And most people cannot, deny that they can start with a program with one song. I call that your happy song.
Right.
What's one song that makes you happy? And for instance, mine is the Jackson 5, The Love You Save. So if I want to start my day and just get into the mindset, I'll put that on, and it's hard for me to be in a bad mood.
Right.
So it really requires, like any other program, I'm sure that when you're working with your coaches as well,
Yeah.
you're going a little bit deeper with them. You're making suggestions, but then they have to make it their own.
Right.
And so it's really the same thing. Is there a song that you remember? Maybe it was a song that you and your wife listened to, and you feel grateful for her, or one that you like to experience when you're in nature, or it reminds you of a moment in your life that you're grateful for. And you
Right.
start to narrow that down, because music creates autobiographical memories. They
Right.
show this through fMRI, that when you begin to train your mind, not only can you remember older memories, but you could program your mind to create new memories as well. So when you start to play that song, Richard, now, like every morning you play this song that makes you move into a place of gratitude, your body almost starts to expect it. And then when you play it, you're going back to that experience that you've had the first time every time you listen to it again. So you have the ability to just step into it very quickly, as opposed to really having to, like, move into that state and spend a lot of effort into it. That
Mhm.
is what I call the cutting edge technology of music, and probably why it's been the oldest and most effective biohack that we've had for thousands of years, because it could take us there in moments to our targeted emotions.
Huh. So if so you said you admit, and it's 60 beats per minute, which is roughly what your heart is beating when you're in a relaxed mode, right?
That's right.
So let's say that I picked a song that I love, but let's say it was 100 beats per minute. Is that
Yeah, that's
okay?
okay. Yeah,
Okay.
that is okay. And that's what I'm saying. Create a playlist of 3 songs,
Right.
right? And I say amp it up. First, come into your heart, right? And get that emotional energy going of gratitude, and then amp it up. Allow it
Right.
to grow so that you're stepping into your day with passion. You don't want to step
Yeah.
in a low amount of energy. So I always tell people, start with 3 song playlists, and start for your morning to start your day. Create another 3 song playlist for the middle of your day. And you know what? Look at your schedule. Like, we look at our schedule 30 times a day. We schedule everything in there. What would happen if you scheduled your music in there? And
Huh.
that's why it's going to change, because something that you're doing in the middle of your day one day might shift. Like, maybe you have to go out to lunch and visit a family member who's in the hospital. You're not going to listen to the same music as a very high energy closing on a house. So that requires looking at your schedule, your things to do. You have, you targeted, and they're laid out all in your day. But how about what I call your things to be? And that is the emotion that you want to become to get those things accomplished.
Hmm.
And that's where music can really help you. So even at lunch, I have something I call the 5-minute musical vacation. And so I'm in this room probably, 12 to 16 hours a day. I listen to a piece of music from another part of the world, and I close my eyes. I create a multi-sensory experience where I'm experiencing that part of the world. What does it feel like? Where am I? Am I by the ocean? Am I in sand? Is there a smell that is an exotic tea from that area? And it literally in 5 minutes, I'm taking a vacation. When I come back in, I feel like I've actually gone somewhere for 5 minutes. So this is something that's very powerful, but most of us don't think of taking a 5 minute vacation. And
Mhm.
the same thing at night, when we're winding down to sleep, are you spending time bridging your day into your night? Are you kind of doing the reverse of you did in the morning, where you're starting your day in gratitude? Are you processing some of the things that happen in your day, things that you can be thankful for, or things that were challenging in your day, so that you have a time to process, maybe journal a little bit with some calming music? And so you're not going to sleep with the same thoughts and waking up with the same thoughts. And that's why 75 million people in our country suffer from insomnia, is most of us are not processing. So we're going from these very fast brain waves, right, which are these beta brain waves that we need during our day. And then we're so tired, our head's hitting the pillow, we're getting to sleep, but because we didn't spend time bridging, we're almost going directly from beta into delta, which is our sleep, our brainwave patterns. And, we're kind of shocking our system. So we wake up, a couple hours later, and we're thinking about the worries of our day or the things we have to do tomorrow. Give yourself some time at the end of your day to go through them, so your mind doesn't feel obligated to wake up. And this slowing down is much more conducive to sleep, and more gentle on our mental, emotional, and physical body as well.
Mhm.
We get to sleep and we stay asleep longer. And it's been studied with music at 60 beats per minute, not a lot of melody, no lyrics before you go to sleep, because you don't want to be analyzing whether you like the lyric or not. Just some gentle ambient music. And those are the 3 times of the day that I really suggest utilizing music. So you could do it a lot more, but
Yeah.
that's a starting point.
Okay. So the last question before we go back, and sort of, I'm really interested to see how you got where you are today, because this is, because obviously you're a musician. For those that can't see, if you're not watching this on YouTube, he's sitting in a really cool recording studio right now. And I think before he leaves today, we might have a little fun and he'll do a little music for us, because he's set up to do that. But you talk about 3 playlists. You're saying 3 playlists, and there should be roughly 3 songs in each playlist. Is that sort of what you're
Yeah, I
recommending?
mean, and they could be longer, but most of us, we don't have an extended period of time, especially in the middle of our day.
Right.
So I suggest starting with 3 songs, and that's a good starting place where everyone feels that it's something that could be accomplished and they could be held accountable to.
Okay. So then, what type of music should we put into these 3 different playlists? Right. I'm a little bit confused as to what I should put in there. So I get the happy song. I sort of get that one, right? So one of my favorite songs is Leonard Skinner, Freebird. And I don't know why. I just love that song. Like, as human beings, we should be free, go out and do your thing, be who you are, that sort of thing. Is that the type of song I might have in there for, say, my mid-afternoon or noon? Or am I
Yeah, and again, it's checking in with your schedule and asking yourself the question. And this requires some, really tapping into emotional intelligence. It's like, where am I now emotionally
right?
in this moment? And before I'm listening to my playlist, where am I? Where do I want to go?
Right.
Right. And what's going to take me there? So if you're like, wow, I'm feeling a little bit sluggish, I need something that's going to pick me up because my next meeting is like high energy. Absolutely. Play that Leonard Skinner,
Yeah.
right? And allow it to move you to that place where you want to go. But if you're feeling like, wow, I'm stressed, I'm jittery right now from that last meeting, I didn't think that was going to happen. One of those days you're feeling off centered,
Right.
then for me that is a good signal. Even the term off centered means coming back into center, moving a little bit more into the heart, right? And that's slowing down and playing a piece of music that's slower and that's going to calm you down. So it's not a one size fit all. and it's just like a doctor would prescribe, a specific medication for you based on what you're experiencing in your physical body. It's the same emotionally. We're really looking to fine tune our emotions. So that getting that edge is going in. You have to go in and ask, where am I? Where do I want to go? And you become the expert. Like I'm the expert and I can make suggestions and tell you the studies around specific types of music, but a lot of new studies, Richard, they're showing preferred music, the music you prefer, right? You love. So taking inventory, go back into your old playlist, right? That you have even from years ago and say, wow, this would be great for this. This would be great for that. And have fun with it. Become the DJ of your own life. DJs target different states. Like when you go into a wedding, DJs play a certain kind of music at the beginning of the event to kind of encourage social atmosphere. It's nice and calm, right? And they want you to feel safe. As the event goes on, if it's a wedding, they're bringing the music up because now they want you to feel excitement. Then there's a dance with the father and the bride, and they want you to go into your heart, right? So they're playing something, beautiful that gets that attention. So it's really no different than that. Like we know if we look at our schedule what we need. It's just finding and tying together those pieces. So I hope that clarifies a little bit.
Yeah, no, it helps a lot. So sort of the bit of a takeaway I'd say to this point is that what we all should do, is I need to really create sort of 3 playlists, right? That's what I should probably have with, roughly 3 songs in each playlist that would create the mood I want at that period in my day. Does that make sense?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And I think of morning, like I said, you're breaking the fast. Like what's the first couple of songs that you want to start your day? So I do the bookends first, right? Morning and evening is almost always calming down. You're winding down. So I think of evening like as dessert, something sweet, something nurturing, something gentle. And then, the middle of your day requires that you're really going to look at your schedule and see what's needed and what's necessary. Right. And that's really it. And sometimes also thinking about your clients, what do they need? How do they need me to be as well in this specific, meeting or whatever it is that you're engulfing upon? How do you need to be for your clients as well? And, there's a lot as well, which is a whole other side of it, of all of the people who are watching who have their own channels, who have their own podcasts, who have their own YouTube channels, who are, on Instagram. What music are they using to actually symbolize their mission? And, that's really important as well. The music you're utilizing to represent you in the marketplace. Like what are your clients looking at when they're going to your YouTube channel? What are they looking at when they're seeing who you are, and how is that going to differentiate you within your clients and in the marketplace? Because sometimes using the wrong music can be, it could be harming to you. If you're looking to create inspiration, but the piece of music you're using in a video feels sad, then you're not going to be taking your potential clients into where you want them to go. And they might not know why, and that's the thing. People don't always put together it's the music. They might think, oh, wow, he feels really heavy, or, but it's the music. So it's really, it moves into music to magnify mission, not just into how you shift your mood, but how can you use it to magnify your mission and your message in the world that's going out there from being an influencer in whatever market that you're in.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And we had a chat on that a week or so ago. And I know you've worked with an awful lot of people to create music for them, right? That they could use, say on their audio programs or at their events or on their YouTube channel. So give us a Cole's Notes. I really want to, how did this all come about? Like what were you like as a kid? Were you into music as a kid? how did you become a musician, and then how do you go from becoming a musician to sort of move into using music as a bit of a state changer, if you will? Because obviously you have a lot of interest in this, or it wouldn't have, we wouldn't end up here. So how did this all happen?
Yeah, well, I joke around with people and I say, 30 some odd years ago, if you would have told me that I'd be putting people to sleep, with my music every night, I would have laughed at you, because I was a rock musician, a major label record producer. I worked with Les Paul, the guy who invented the electric guitar. I co-produced a Grammy award-winning track with him for best rock instrumental. So that's something very different from what I'm doing now. And like most of us, we get inspired when something shifts in our own lives. So for me, I was getting burnt out in the music business, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners, we're high achievers. We create goals for ourselves, and then when we get to them, those goals, sometimes it doesn't always exactly match up to what we thought it was going to be. And so there are times where we have to shift and pivot on that and reinvent ourselves in some way. So my goal was, wow, become a major label record producer, work with artists that I was inspired by during my life. And when that happened, I got burnt out. I was spending, 50 to 100 hours on a song that, was a 4-minute song, and deadlines and commitments and everything else. And I said, wow, how do I circle back and re-find, my love and my passion for music again? And I just started experimenting, Richard. I said, what would happen if I'm doing the opposite of how I'm creating music now? So instead of spending this focused time to create 4-minute songs, what would happen if I just really free-falled and just allowed the music to come, really kind of come to me, and do that for an hour? So like journaling, right? I'm sure you do that with journaling. You're not thinking about what you're writing. You're just letting it come through, right? That's how we move into flow state. So that's what I really did. I set my metronome for 60 beats per minute, because I had done some research about slowing down, moving out of anxiety. And there was, even back then, some information on that. And I just started creating these pieces of music that I thought no one would listen to, because they were hour long and there was no melody. It was like the opposite of, popular music, which you want to create something memorable. This was highly immemorable. And I had a girlfriend at the time who was a massage therapist. She started using them in sessions, and she said, oh my God, this is exactly what I've been looking for. I said, really? So I started giving them to friends. Check this out. Tell me what you think, about this. I know your mom has dementia and she has a hard time sleeping at night. Try this for her. Another friend who was going to the dentist, and all of a sudden, I found that it was rippling out and really starting to help people. So that made me more curious. And I said, I need to do some research on, why this is working. And that's when I really started to key in on entrainment and synchronizing our physical body with music, targeting specific brainwave states. And I started working with a company called Monroe Institute, who are the originators of binaural beats, which is how you target your specific brainwaves. And that led me to working with guys like Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dr. Daniel Amen, who's a pioneer in neuroscience, and a host of other people, Dave Asprey as well, who's widely known as the father of biohacking. So really that changed my world. I reinvented everything that I was doing in the traditional music business. And then I started combining all of it, and really taking the best of both worlds to create unique and customized compositions for companies and individuals. How can we bring this to, mainstream, and so that everybody can use it? And that's really where my focus is now, what I call combining chapter 1, which was, that, music producer finding his mastery in a recording studio, with chapter 2, which was the science and transformation behind how music can be used to target mood, sleep, all of those things. And now it's circling back. How do I get to share this with entrepreneurs to
Right.
really customize what they're doing and to assist them in magnifying their mission? So that's kind of it in a
That's,
quick framing of it.
well, it's a cool story because I know, like, when I was on your site and I was doing some research, like there's, your music's playing a lot of hospice and hospitals and that sort of
Mhm.
thing as well. Um, and is that just music you've already created that people can buy off your website, or did you create some custom music for them?
Well, both. Yeah, I mean, there is music on my website. I have a series called Ambiology that was actually part of that experiment. Those are some of my first pieces that I created that have really been used a lot for people who are getting cancer treatments. They're being used in operating rooms, birthing children into the world. So that whole series called Ambiology is geared really towards creating music as medicine, or as I said, I call those acousticeuticals. But
Right.
yeah, I'm constantly customizing things as well because, all of us are different. You know, customizing a piece of music for you is going to be different than anyone else, and that's really the fun part for me in creating customized music. Is kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. You really
Right.
have to find the right pieces to
Right.
make it unique to a specific person, and that's what I'm doing now with something I call sonic signatures, as well as creating very, very specific musical themes as well that can assist.
So if somebody was to come to you, Barry, and so we do events, obviously, and we actually play music at our events. Um, podcast, the intro, the extro to, my podcast, and we've touched on this a little bit, and I want to do some more stuff with you on it. But how would you help an entrepreneur, right, create the right music for that situation? Like, how do you understand what is necessary for that person?
Yeah, I mean that is you and I, or you and me and whoever, really delving deeper into finding out what's personal to you, so that when you hear that song, you're going to feel like, wow, he really captured that. So I'll ask you genres of music that you loved as a kid, specific songs that when you listen to make you feel a certain way. What are you trying, what type of energy are you trying to create? Is it motivational? Is it more relaxing? So we're really like delving deep into things that are going to inspire you.
Hmm.
And then I'm also finding common themes within possibly the greatest hits of all of your podcasts, taglines that run through them. And so that we can create something that's exciting that represents you in a short period of time. So 30 seconds, for podcasts is basically what we have to keep people's attention there. So what can we do? How can we represent you in 30 seconds? And I'm not happy till I find it. So
Yeah.
I was just working with Joe Polish, as you know, and on his podcast, and we're tweaking, we're fine tuning, and we're getting something that's really customized for his audience and who he is. So that takes delving deeper. I want to find out who you are, what makes you tick, or anyone I'm working with, and represent that musically.
That's really cool. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to break it up. We're going to do something called the lightning round. These are very stupid
Okay.
questions that have absolutely no meaning whatsoever. Just to
Okay.
listen up
Fun.
before I go into the last, I call them the big three questions at the end. So, favorite food?
Italian.
Italian. Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? What a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. What book should everyone read?
Uh, Awaken the Giant Within.
Yeah. Favorite app?
Favorite app? Calm.
Yeah, that's not surprising, actually. I like that. Favorite hobby?
Favorite hobby, bowling.
Bowling? Oh, here's a good one for you. Favorite musician?
Les Paul.
Les Paul? And how Les Paul is no longer with us, right?
He's not.
Yeah.
He's not. But most people don't realize that Les didn't just invent the electric guitar. He invented multi-track recording. He was so far ahead of his time in
Uh,
terms of what he was inventing that we wouldn't be listening to music the way that we do if it wasn't for Les Paul. So that's why he's my favorite.
that's amazing. Favorite day of the week?
I will say Sunday.
Why Sunday?
It's a day of rest, regroup.
Yeah. Chill. Dream holiday?
Dream holiday, July 4th.
July 4th. Why do you like that day so much?
Just fireworks, inspirational, independence,
Yeah.
fun.
Good stuff. Okay, so big three questions. So the first question is what I call a small giant. So what a small giant is, it's an actionable idea that's relatively easy to do. Somebody could do it in a short period of time, but if they did it with absolute consistency, you know what I mean? That would produce a real positive result in their business or life.
Yeah, so that's what we talked about. I call it musical nutrition.
Yeah.
Those 3 times a day start off with actually programming and navigating your energy where you want to go. And I guarantee that if you do that 3 times a day for 30 days, your life will definitely shift and transform. And you'll fall in love with music again.
Yeah. That's so cool. Well, I'm going to do it. Second question, delivering the unexpected. So we believe as an organization and something that we teach is that the greatest form of marketing is delivering the unexpected in terms of service to customers, right? In other words, you do something so great that they cannot not talk about you, sort of thing. So has there ever been a time in your life where you had that type of service delivered to you that turned you into an instant advocate? Or is there something you did to try and turn your customers into an instant advocate?
Yeah, I think it's both, and it's probably like the same answer. I really appreciate going when people go the extra mile and they don't have to.
Yeah.
And usually that happens in the fine tuning stages. So when we think that something's done and it's complete, I'm always asking the other questions is, don't be afraid to even let me know a tiny thing that bothers you because in that extra those last steps, a lot of time that's where the magic happens. Just fine tuning something 1% can really take it over the top. And we're looking to differentiate in the marketplace. And so I think that yeah, it's moving into flow state, but in those last moments of fine tuning is very, very important and crucial.
I like that. And that's actually a good question. Say to somebody that, something that bothers you, right? Something really, really small that's still there that bothers you. I like that question. Because
Yeah, I mean, especially with music too. If I
yeah,
create something for you and you're like, I don't want to bother him with this, right? You're going to be listening to it a lot more than I am because
yeah,
you're going to be listening to it on your podcast every week for the next 10 years.
right.
If it's bothering you now,
Yeah.
then it's going to be bothering you a lot more as you go on.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that question. So based on what you know now, what advice would you give to your 20-year-old self? Now
I
it's
would
fair
say,
to say you're over 20, right?
yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. It's rock and roll keeps you young, and music keeps you young, but not
Yeah.
that young. Yeah, I would say starting with the end in mind and moving past I think the big one, moving past your family's limited belief systems.
Oh,
So our parents' belief systems not are not necessarily have to be ours. And so I would tell my 20-year-old self, my dad loves me. He appreciates me. He's not on the cover of Entrepreneur today. And I might have started taking chances a little bit sooner. But, my dad was brought up during the Depression. He wanted to make sure I was okay, that I was safe, that I was going to earn a living. And music was a nice hobby. But what are you going to do for a living? So it wasn't until I was like about 28 that I really said, hey, this is not going anywhere. I need to amp this up a bit. So that I would tell my 20-year-old self, follow your heart and listen to your own voice.
yeah. That's really, really good advice. So we had talked here about sort of you playing a little bit or playing us out, or I'm not quite sure. What do you think we should do here? Because I know you have the ability to switch your camera over to the piano there. What could we do that would be cool? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, here's the thing, and this is like a typical day, right? You and
Right.
I are fairly high energy right now.
Yeah.
And how long does it take to move into a relaxed state? Maybe some people we want to stay in that, but if you wanted to move, say this is the end of our day and you're coming in from the high energy, I think it'd be cool to show people it doesn't take long to really just bring your energy down, slow those brain waves down, sink into your heart a bit, whether it's starting your day in gratitude or slowing down at night. And I'm just going to play something original. I don't know exactly what I'm going to play, but I'm just going to play for a few moments and just allow yourself and people listening. Let's imagine that this is either the start of our day or the end of our day, and we're looking to come into a place of gratitude. We're looking to acknowledge some things we're thankful for at the beginning of our day or things that happened in our day. And just slow your breathing down and close your eyes. When we close our eyes, it's not just for the sake of it. The research shows that we move into those alpha brainwave states when our eyes are closed. So when you hear the beginning of the music, just close your eyes, allow yourself to relax, and then I'll gently ask you to kind of come back, move your hands and feet around, and yeah, that's
I
that's
love it.
my unplanned plan.
I love it, man. Let's do it.
All right. So you can start by just closing your eyes. It's going to take a minute and just turn around to the keyboards here and just allow yourself to slow down, slow your breathing down, close your eyes and go inward. Good. And just give yourself a big breath in, big breath out. You can move your hands and fingers around a little bit, feet and toes. And yeah, it doesn't take long, right?
Amazing. I do feel totally different, right? Like I do feel a little more chill right now. And by the way, that was a beautiful piece of music.
Thank you.
Did you just making that up as you were going there?
Just kind of, yeah, just moving into that flow state and letting the creative juices go. Yeah.
That's really, really cool. So let me ask this question just as we, start to sort of close this out, because I know people can get your music on Spotify, Apple, right? Your music's, everywhere. They can go to your website. I know there's some free music available there. They just have to put in their email address and things like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what can you suggest 3 songs? Okay, that's your music. I want to listen to
Okay.
your stuff. So one that I should listen to in the morning, let's say, one that I should maybe listen to at noon. And let's say that most of my afternoons are very busy. Like I tend to do any creative work in the morning, and then I tend to do appointments with others in the afternoon. That's sort of the way I schedule my days.
Okay.
Like tomorrow afternoon, as an example, I've got 3 1-hour Zoom calls with groups of people. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
where I'm leading the group sort of thing. So what song would I want to listen to there? And then what would be a good song to listen to just before I go to bed? And I
Okay,
hope
cool.
everybody else could take advantage of this too.
Yeah, and I'll give you things that I know are on Spotify. So
Okay.
yeah, if you go to Spotify and you type in Barry Goldstein, you'll find an array of music.
Yeah.
Within that, there's a piece called the Heart Codes and
Yeah.
Gratitude. So that would be great for the morning piece, just to kind of start you in that day and for your journaling and whatever you're doing your R&R there.
Yeah.
And I say in the afternoon, so you're going to want to pump some energy up there. And I have a full album called, actually 3 albums called Ignite the Heart. Ignite the
Okay.
Heart is much more epic and motivational. A lot of people use it for breath work, but I
Right.
would say easy to remember. There's a piece on it called Ignite the Heart. So you can that's really just great to kind of jumpstart your energy if you like that kind of epic big drums,
Yeah.
kind of that more warrior based, courageous kind of epic
Yeah.
music. And then at night you'll find a on Spotify something called the ultimate relaxation playlist, and that actually has an hour's worth of music on it that's great for winding down at night. If you only have a small amount of time, the 6 track, which is called Genesis,
Right.
is on that playlist. And that has been used clinically for people with insomnia challenges as well. So you can get all of those on Spotify. And also you can, on my Spotify channel, you'll see some suggested playlists for sleep in there also, so that you don't have to necessarily, do it
Yeah.
on your own.
That's so cool because a lot of our listeners are obviously very busy, quite often,
Sure.
many working late at night, putting a deal together, all that sort of thing. So I'm sure sleep is probably an issue for many, as it is for, as you said, what 75 million Americans have insomnia. Like
That's it. That's it.
that's incredible, right? So
Yeah. And yeah, and if people are looking to work with me like one on one, and
yeah,
they're really looking to fine tune how they're using music like within their business and on an entrepreneurial level on their platforms, YouTube, all podcasts, etc. Sonic-signatures.com
okay,
is a great way to reach me. And that's really where my focus is, on musical branding. And it's Sonic-signatures.
signatures. Okay, good. So we'll make sure all this gets into the show notes as well for everybody.
Sure.
So it's there. But so if they want to go to your main site, Barry Goldstein
BarryGoldsteinmusic.com. Yep.
music.com, and then Sonic dash signatures would be the other
.com.
one.
That's right.
And that's sort of the business, which is great. So everybody knows where to go. So my last question is my tagline. It's a beautiful life. Make it count. What's a beautiful life to you, my friend?
A beautiful life to me is things like this, not exactly knowing where I'm going, which I
Yeah.
love, reinventing on a daily basis. And I think I told you this in my private
Yeah.
conversation with you, but I'm more than happy to share. A lot of my friends are moving towards retirement age.
Yeah.
They're discussing an exit strategy. I'm still in enter strategy. So not retirement, reinvent, reinventment is what
Yeah.
I'm looking for. And if I could do that every day, then it's a good day. And today
Yeah.
is one of them.
Well, I think, I always say that we should build our life and business in such a way that we never want to retire. Because
That's right.
then we're doing what we want to do every day anyway, right? You're going, well,
That's it. And I'm glad I sat next to you in Genius because we
yeah,
wouldn't probably be having
yeah.
this conversation. So
Oh no, this is great. I've enjoyed both of our conversations so much, and this was just so cool. And I'll be in touch about, and I'll be staying in touch, Bear. We're going to do some other stuff together. I'm looking forward to it. So, thank you, my friend, for doing this. By the way, in
my
such
pleasure.
notice, it just all happened really fast, which is great. So I really appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, and I appreciate what you're doing and all that you've done in the world and all that you're giving to your community and giving them the tools that are going to help them magnify their mission. So, looking forward to collaboration.
Well, we will be doing lots more together. So, thank you very much for being here today, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Richard.
See you.